From the dawn of history, man has reported visitors from other planets. In ancient societies, they were feared. In pagan societies, they were revered as gods. But in modern times, we've tried to ignore them. Do they continue their visits? Have they reached out to us? Are they in fact in league with the governments of the earth, even as we speak?
Hello, we're UFO Investigations. I'm True Hawkins, and this is Research Associate Jody Piercy.
Hello.
Our continuing job is to bring information to you from recently acquired government documents acquired through the Freedom of Information Act and information from civilian investigators.
The matter is the most highly classified subject in the United States government, rating higher even than the H-bomb. Flying saucers exist. Their modus operandi is unknown, but concentrated effort is being made by a small group headed by Dr. Vannevar Bush. The entire matter is considered by the United States authorities to be of tremendous significance. The first, letter from General Nathan Twining, Commander, Air Materiel Command, September 23, 1947. Documents show that the flying discs were starting to be examined by certain factions in the military who apparently had been aware of the discs for some time. Document shows that the discs were real and not someone's imagination. Document shows that General Twining decided not to tell about the disc crashes that had started to occur with the subsequent recovery of both alien bodies and the bodies of Army Air Force pilots.
Hi, I'm Bob Lazar. During late 1988 and early 89, I worked on the propulsion systems of extraterrestrial vehicles for the United States government. The hardware and technology I was exposed to should be placed in the proper hands of the scientific community, and it is the right of every person on Earth to know that there is physical evidence which proves that there is life elsewhere and that at least one form of that life has been here. I worked as a senior staff physicist in what has to be the most secret project in history. My place of work was a facility at an area known as S4 on the Nellis Air Force Range in central Nevada. Area S4 is located approximately 15 miles south of the infamous Area 51 installation at Groom Lake. For the duration of my employment at S4, I was paid by the United States Navy.
It all began on a hot July night in 1947, when, according to Lear and others, an alien craft crashed on a remote ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. Eyewitnesses, the local papers, even the first military men at the site reported a crashed UFO. Then, suddenly the top brass swarmed to the site. Witnesses were sworn to secrecy, and every speck of debris was literally vacuumed from the dusty desert floor. However, references are vague, and large portions of the text have been censored.
The truth of the matter is, since 1947, we have collected and have in our possession at least 30 to 35 extraterrestrial flying saucers. We have collected and have in our possession at least 100 to 150 alien bodies representing at least 3 different species. 3 years ago, when I had a friend of mine come to Nellis Air Force Base who I had flown with in Laos. In the process of asking him where all he had been in the past few years, he mentioned he was at Bentwaters. And Bentwaters was, of course, the site of a very famous flying saucer landing in 1980. And I said, oh, well, that's supposedly where that flying saucer landed. And he said, no, John, not supposedly, it did. There are aliens in flying saucers, and he said, I hope to tell you. So that's when I set out on this thing to find out what the bottom line was.
In the Navy, I had an occasion to actually see what they call a UFO. Only this was certainly not unidentified. The only thing that I could tell about it that was unidentified is we didn't know who was flying it. I was on a submarine on the surface between Pearl Harbor and the Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington area.
What did it look like? What did you see?
It was a huge, absolutely, without a doubt, metal machine which had been built by someone somewhere, came up out of the water, tumbled end over end, and went up into the clouds. There was low cloud cover that day. The craft, or another craft that looked exactly like it, came back down out of the clouds, again tumbling end over end, went into the water. And the whole thing was incredible.
And I'm going to give you 3 short science lessons, and once you've learned them, you'll not only know more about interstellar travel than almost anyone else in the world, but you'll know the actual method another civilization has used to travel from another star system to the planet Earth. One of the most predominantly asked questions is, how is it possible to cross vast expanses of space without exceeding the speed of light? Well, the fact is that when you're dealing with space-time and you enjoy the capability of generating an intense gravitational field, the fastest way from point A to B is to distort or warp or bend the space-time between point A and B, bringing point A and B closer together. The more intense the gravitational field, the greater the distortion of space-time and the shorter the distance between points A and B. We know that gravity bends or distorts space, time, and light by virtue of the fact that we're able to see stars which we know should be blocked from our view by the sun. And up until this point in time, great mass such as a star, planet, or moon was the only source of a discernible gravitational field that we're aware of. Now, the great benefit of generating an intense gravitational field is not only can you turn it on, but you can turn it off. We can distort the space-time and in turn the distance between the point where we are and the point where we want to be. We can then position ourselves at the point where we want to be and then stop generating the gravitational field, allowing space-time to return to its natural form. Well, gravity is a wave, and there are two specific different types of gravity, gravity A and gravity B. Gravity A works on a small or micro scale, while gravity B works on a large or macro scale. We are familiar with gravity B. It is the big gravity wave that holds the Earth as well as the rest of the planets in orbit around the Sun and holds the Moon as well as man-made satellites in orbit around the Earth. We are not familiar with gravity A. It is the small gravity wave which is the major contributory force that holds together the mass that makes up all protons and neutrons. Gravity A is what is currently being labeled as the strong nuclear force in mainstream physics, and gravity A is the wave that you need to access and amplify to enable you to cause space-time distortion for interstellar travel. Scientists have long theorized that there are potential combinations of protons and neutrons which should provide stable elements with atomic numbers higher than any which appear in our periodic chart. The most important attribute of these heavier stable elements is that the gravity A wave is so abundant that it actually extends past the perimeter of the atom. For those of you with extensive knowledge about power sources, I'm sure it's probably even more puzzling as to how it's possible to have a compact, lightweight, onboard power source that can provide this much power. For everyone to understand that, I need to further explain a couple of things we briefly touched upon in the last question. Well, we synthesize these heavier, unstable elements by using more stable elements as targets in a particle accelerator. At this point, transmutation occurs, making the target element a different, heavier element. So this is what I mean when I say their atomic number increases. Most of you are familiar with the bombs that were dropped on Japan in World War II. This is the same bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki August 9, 1945. But if a hydrogen bomb containing the same amount of nuclear material as the Nagasaki bomb were to explode in Baghdad, the area of total devastation would be approximately 20 miles. Now, if a bomb was made with the same amount of nuclear material as the Nagasaki bomb and that material was antimatter, when that bomb exploded in Baghdad, the area of total devastation would include parts of Africa, Europe, and Asia. Now it's time to link all we've learned in our science lessons to the vehicle that utilizes all of this technology. And a few years ago, I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but that vehicle is a disk, which is generally referred to as a flying saucer. But the one I'm going to describe to you now is the one in which I not only saw 2 of the 3 interior levels, but I also saw it fully functional in flight. This particular disc appeared to be in excellent condition, and because of its sleek appearance, I nicknamed it the Sport Model. The Sport Model is about 16 feet tall and 40 feet in diameter. The exterior skin of the disc is metal, which is the color of unpolished stainless steel. The interior level of the disc is divided into 3 levels. The lower level is where the 3 gravity amplifiers and amplifier guides are located. These are the things used to amplify and focus the gravity A wave that we learned about in our science lessons. The reactor is located directly above the 3 gravity amplifiers on the center level and is in fact centered between them. The center level of this disc also houses the control consoles and seats, both of which were too small and too low to the floor to be functional for adult human beings. I was never given access to the upper level of the disc, so I can't enlighten you as to what the porthole-like areas are, other than I can assure you that they're not portholes. My job in this program was to be part of a back engineering team. Back engineering is the act of taking a finished product and tearing it apart to find out what makes it tick. When I went to work, I was flown from McCarran Airport in Las Vegas to Area 51. From Area 51, I was bused to an even more highly secure facility located about 15 miles south of Area 51 called S4. The airspace around S4 is restricted, and if any unwelcome aircraft strays into the outer sector, they radio the pilot and instruct him or her to leave. If that pilot continues and strays into the middle sector, jets will be scrambled to escort the intruding aircraft out. If for any reason whatsoever that aircraft penetrates into the inside sector before jets can be airborne, ground-to-air missiles will neutralize the intruder. As you can see in this representation, my ID badge had a white background with one light blue and one dark blue diagonal stripe in the upper left-hand corner. At the bottom of the badge, there were letters and numbers designating various areas, including S4. Now, when the disk travels near another source of gravity, such as a planet or moon, it doesn't use the same mode of travel that we learned about in our science lessons. The gravity A wave, which propagates outward from the disk, is phase-shifted into the gravity B wave, which propagates outward from the Earth, and this creates lift. When the gravitational field around the disk is so intense that the space-time distortion around the disk achieves maximum distortion and is folded up into this heart-shaped form, the disk can't be seen from any vantage point, and for all practical purposes is invisible. All you could see would be the sky surrounding it.
Now, a document we have here that's a little more colorful than most records a shooting incident reported at Ellsworth Air Force Base. Now, this is an actual official complaint report from Ellsworth. The incident was upgraded to a covered wagon, per request of Captain Stokes. The report goes on to say that when these security officers responded to the alarm, a beam of light hit his rifle and it disintegrated, melted, burned his hands. They fired at aliens, as it says in the report, another beam of light. According to this, the two soldiers involved were so terrified, they called for more help.
Rake, the soldier in question, aimed his M16 rifle at the intruder and ordered him to stop. The intruder turned towards Rake and aimed an object at Rake which emitted a bright flash of intense light. The flash of light struck Rake's M16 rifle, disintegrating the weapon and causing second and third degree burns to Rake's hands. Rake immediately took cover. Jenkins challenged the two individuals, the two additional alien individuals apparently, but they also refused to stop. Jenkins aimed and fired 2 rounds from his M16 rifle as well. 1 bullet struck one intruder in the back and 1 bullet struck one intruder in the helmet. Both intruders fell to the ground. However, approximately 15 seconds later, both returned to an upright position and fired the same flashes of light at Jenkins.
As part of my indoctrination into the program at S4, I would randomly be taken into a small room which contained a table, a chair, and 120 or so briefings in blue folders. These briefings contained a wide spectrum of information, mostly relating to aliens and alien technology. These beings said that they had been visiting Earth for a long time and presented photographic evidence which they contended was over 10,000 years old. There was an exchange of hardware and information in Central Nevada until 1979, at which time there was a conflict which brought the program to an abrupt halt. These beings said that man was the product of externally corrected evolution. They said that man, as a species, had been genetically altered 65 times. They referred to humans as containers, yet I don't know what we're containers of. These beings are from Reticulum 4, which is the 4th planet out from Zeta Reticuli 2. The beings are 3 to 4 feet tall and weigh 25 to 50 pounds. They have grayish skin and large heads with almond-shaped wraparound eyes. They have very slight nose, mouth, and ear positions and are hairless.
In 1947, when the Roswell Crash happened, the United States put together a group of people to go and look into this. They weren't sure whether they came from the Germans or they came from the Soviets. On that disk, the United States government discovered both alien bodies or reptilian species and also the bodies of Air Force pilots. In September of '47, Truman passed the National Security Act in order to hide the activities of the government, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the alien problem. As Wilbur Smith indicated in his letter to Dr. Sarbacher in 1950, this matter is so highly classified because of its impact on every living being on this planet. It's classified higher than the H-bomb was. In fact, they've developed at least 32 levels above top secret into the Ultra and Q range to deal with security as far as the aliens are concerned.
I've drawn my line in the sand, and I'm going to do what's right by God, and I don't give a damn who cares or who likes it or who doesn't. Even if it means I have to die on my doorstep. It's not my system. It is not operating within the boundaries of the Constitution. They have thrown the Constitution out. It is treason in operation. There is a subversion of government going on as we speak in the halls of government throughout this country, not just in Washington, D.C. You cannot fix it. Your vote doesn't mean a damn thing, and if you haven't figured that out yet, then you're too far gone to even be listening to me.
Remember, not everyone who sees a disc in the sky is crazy, so keep your eye on the sky, especially here in central Nevada, and thanks for listening.